even in my own language. And Juan, it's an honor to have you here. You be the host now. You take charge of things. What are we doing today?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Well, we can introduce everybody to start with. And today we have the great honor to have Geshe Michael with us. He's, I think, an amazing translator. And lately, as you say, Ben Kramer, I've been doing some hypertext. And it's a great opportunity. I really recommend everybody who's interested in learning translation to do a little bit of it. It's mind-blowing. Then I think there you have a chance to start matching the links where how things are translated in a special particular way. And it's fun. You learn a lot. So I think that's a way everybody can get involved. And there you can see how Geshe Michael does his translations. And thank you so much for your translations, Geshe-la. It's amazing. Great having you here with us. Thank you. Please keep coming. We have as well with us Connie O'Brien, and they are just in Diamond Mountain, right? I recognize those background behind you. They just finished a 1 month retreat, right? It's amazing. Few people from Guadalajara are also there, from all over United States, Germany, I guess, some other places. And Connie is a wonderful teacher. She's also the director of Yoga Studies Institute. They are doing a lot. So it's also a great pleasure and honor to have you here. And then also there is Ivanina. And she has been also very involved with the translation courses. And then she developed a program to subtitle all the videos that are recorded, all the classes. And that I think is gonna be very, very beneficial. I think the idea was to first do it in English, and from there, every group, every organization can translate the subtitles into their own language. I've been involved there. It's very, very cool project. So thank you, Ina, for all that. It's gonna be a very good legacy for everybody. Thank you. And then as well, I can see Stanley Chen, the famous dragon from China. He's doing so many things. One of the biggest projects I hear lately is the what's that thing? The gold. I forgot, Stanley. What's the name?
Which thing?
You have so many things, right? You have so many things. You have a special program like similar to the special program for Chinese people, soft power China, and that's amazing. I was impressed. I had the opportunity to attend a few classes. Very, very interesting, amazing. So it's also a great pleasure having you here. He's very famous in China. You don't know, but he is. And Ben Kramer as well is with us. In my opinion, one of the best translators of the program as well. And not only that, a very kind dad, a very good yoga teacher, and very, very nice person. So I'm very glad to be surrounded by all of you. The purpose of today is to discuss about a reading that I found very interesting. And it's related about violence and what it is, what actually is, what it is not, and how can we train ourselves, I think, to really never fail in the problem of actually using violence. So let's start. I don't know if you guys want to do this format. What do you guys think? You want to do the format of reading and commenting, or let's just talk about it? Any opinions?
You're the boss. I think it's you could at least maybe tell us that we could either read the reading directly, which I think is cool, but also if you want to talk about it a bit, it's brief. We could look at it a little bit, but whatever feels comfortable to you.
I like that. Why don't we each one just briefly say what we think, or how can we share with the audience what, in our opinion, the reading is in general about. I can just quickly say,
if you don't mind, Juan, also the reading is there in the chat. If people want to look at it and review it as we're going,
perfect.
It is there. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay. So in the link, you can click on the reading and you will see. You can check it out. I found it very interesting. I actually found it almost, I could say, by, I don't know, mistake, by coincidence, because I was looking for another reading, but then it really caught my attention, and I feel, especially in these moments, this reading is very, very relevant, and it can be very, very useful for all of us. Okay, yeah. So what I can say, what I think this reading is about is, first of all, to acknowledge there are problems in this world, but this world is connected with our inner world as well. Whatever is happening outside, in a way, has its cause and reason, because things that are happening inside of us as well. And I think that's very important to realize. And I think it's part of the whole training of this beautiful philosophy and teachings that we're studying, this ancient wisdom, to in our lives try to check if that is true, if it's true that whatever is happening in the outside has any relation or connection with what is happening inside of us, and how by working inside of us we can also affect and transform whatever is happening outside. And I think that's like a whole training. It takes a long time, but this reading is giving us first some awareness of this, but also some tools and techniques on how to act, how to deal when difficult situations, especially related with violence, happen around us. And we're gonna talk about that. Would you like to comment on it, Geshe-la?
Boss, you're muted.
My wife would enjoy having a mute button on me. I have a lot to say, and I feel very strongly about it ever since I was in high school, I guess, because of the Vietnam War that we had here. So, but I'd like to really let everyone give everyone a chance to say something. I'll say this. I was just thinking that there's a balance that we would like to reach about violence. And on one hand, we don't want to do violence back to the violent person, because this creates more violence. It creates more seeds for violence. And I think these are the parts of the reading that Juan chose. I also think we shouldn't do nothing. So when we say you shouldn't do violence back, I think it's important in the same breath, you say, but at the same time, we shouldn't do nothing. And then the big question is, what can we do, or what should we do? And I think it's a very bad extreme to do violence back to the person, but it's equal bad extreme to say, okay, I won't do anything. I'll just sit at home and enjoy my life, So I think maybe we can talk about, that's what I think, Juan. I think that's where you're going in this meeting. Okay, I'll go back to you, Juan.
Okay, thank you, Geshe-la. And yes, it is correct. That's why I choose the reading, because it was so surprising for me to check this emphasis in. It's not about not doing anything. It's not about that. And the very first tool that I choose in the reading is this tool about the dad who, how do you say, scolded at his daughter because she's about to go across the street without being careful. And then in the reading, if I understand correctly, he's encouraged, as you say, Geshe-la, to do something about it. not just like, oh, okay, sweet little girl, she doesn't know better, so it's okay. But instead of that, he really is encouraged to act and to bring something up. And I would like to ask Connie, if you would like to comment on this. You may be familiar with this. I think sometimes you also use this example in other teachings. So what's your take on this? And if you guys can also start thinking about, how do you define violence? What it actually violence is, and what could seem as violence, but it is not violence.
Thank you, Juan. Thanks, Geshe-la. I find this particular practice terribly difficult to do. Really, internally, I have never perfected it. I could not say that I could do something to somebody else, especially as a parent, because in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm afraid. And whenever there's fear in my heart, then the opposite of that seems to be reacting in a way that, and it's a reacting, it's not a thoughtful way of going about something. So it's a reaction, and the reaction for me is often violent. It's like fast, it's not thought out clearly. So what I'm basically saying is this takes a lot of practice to get to this point. So I'm more the kind of person that thinks, let me do the parallel thing. Let me do something that creates peace in my heart and helps other people hold peace in theirs. That's kind of the way that I go about this, because, I mean, Master Shantideva, he is a master. I'm not called Master Connie because this is just such a high practice, I think. I mean, sometimes I'm firm, but not, and maybe I pretend at that point, but there's no fear involved. There's no, like, it's not at the level of a war, is what I'm saying. At the level of a war, I have to go over to really to peace. Like, I just have to keep that in my heart and hold my worldview really strong. So part of my feeling is having people like everybody who's on this call, who's interested in holding peace. This group is what helps me hold my peace. And then my view of where peace comes from is what helps me hold my peace. So I was thinking about the title, Killing Them with Kindness. And we just came out of this retreat yesterday, and everybody shared what had happened for them. And they are all in there fighting their minds, trying to make their minds more peaceful. And some are feeling like, oh, I failed because I saw all of this stuff and I had to spend the time fighting my own mind and bringing it down to peace. But that is the point. That is what helps us hold that space when something really awful happens in our world outside of us. So I just, something else that happened, that we have these things out here on the land. It's a wild place. There are tarantulas here, and then there are tarantula wasps. So a few days ago, while I was out walking and saying some mantras, I came across a wasp that had already stung the tarantula. And so the tarantula was like, he was paralyzed, and she was dragging him across the road to find a hole to store him in, so her babies could then gestate on him while he's alive. So I see this happening and I'm thinking, oh my God, who can I help? Did she already lay the eggs? What do I do? And I'm afraid of spiders. So I start thinking, oh, it's a teddy bear. It's just a, by the time I finally moved to be able to pick her up and move, well, whatever, the tarantula up and move it, she already came back, and then she flipped him over and started to drag him down. And I'm like, well, I don't know who to help. But it's a wanting to help all of them, a love for all of them, but an anger about the situation I think I created. So that's my take on it, Juan. Thank you so much, though, for asking me to be part of this. And I'd love to hear everybody else.
Oh, thank you, Cornelia. You're very welcome. I think you mentioned something very interesting that I relate to the. I think sometimes it's called the 4 attitudes or the 4 modes of a good leader. Sometimes of also an enlightened being. And very quickly, I will say it's to being a master on being peaceful, being a master on being generous, a master on being powerful, and a master of being tough if you have to be tough. But how to be tough, right? And I think the reading is where it's taking us. Seems to me that violence, in order to be violence, has to be connected with anger. And therefore, it has to be connected with misunderstanding reality. Would you like Ben Kramer to tell us a little bit about maybe these 4 aspects on how we can behave when we confront a situation, a difficult situation? And what's your take on this relationship between violence, anger, and misunderstanding?
This is hard. It's a deep question. It's so quickly the 4 modes, right? Oh my gosh, help me! Peaceful, generous, powerful, and they say wrath. Yeah, which they don't say. Excuse me, pissed off, right? They say wrathful. So there's this word that seems to, at least our kind translator has tried to show that it means something different than what we would normally think of as angry. And I'm conflicted by the idea of wrath. And for me, it's a way of understanding the way people treat me sometimes. And it's not necessarily a tool for Ben to use. In my opinion, I don't know how safe I feel with it. I have this idea that it's too tempting or too easy to use it. And I don't know if I can be trusted personally with a tool that powerful. And maybe this attitude protects us so that we're not allowed to show anger to someone unless it almost breaks our heart to do it. You know, if you're like, well, I kind of feel pissed off, right? And this person kind of, and I think it kind of works in this case because this person kind of, I think it would help them. Then I don't think it's time, my opinion, I don't think it's time. When you think to yourself, I just so dearly want to help this person. I so deeply love this person. I so desperately want them to feel well and be full of love. And I wish, I would give anything that there would be any other way than this. And if under that circumstance, maybe you yell at them or you act in some way out of desperation to protect them. The reading says, like a child going in the street, and maybe even you go as far as to spank their bottom. My son is learning to ride a bicycle. It's terrifying. Yeah. And he, and now I have been yelling at him a little bit more than usual. He makes strange decisions near cars. And so I have to really, and he's not used to hearing dad yell. So it's exciting when dad yells, and it's a powerful tool. But it's also, there's something insidious about that tool. It can become too easy to use if you're ignorant like me. Right? And you see it work once, it can be tempting to use it again. To somehow have the right motivation every time is very hard. And I want to say something difficult, and my mind is dancing around how to do it, because Juan asked this twofold question that also included the question about wisdom and misunderstanding. And I am full of misunderstanding. And even in my effort to understand what my teachers have taught me and what the great teachers of the past have taught, they assure me that I won't really get it yet. And that's kind. And I appreciate that, because I can see in some ways that I'm not really there, that until the day we go into union with truth itself in a deep state of meditation, we will always see things wrong. And I think that this applies in a way to anger and wrath. And I think of a big inspiration for me, two people in my mind, okay? One is Albert Einstein, who was a very famous pacifist up to a point, until the Nazis started rolling through Europe. And he said, okay, now this is too much. Now we have to rise up and we have to fight. And then I think of Gandhiji, okay, who was willing to lay down his life and encouraged other people to be ready to do that. Now, as an ignorant being, okay, I feel in my heart, okay, I side with Einstein. I feel in my heart like there's a point where you have to fight back. But I see also, okay, by the kindness of my teachers, through logic and study, it's like you can peer into a world that's deeper than you're ready for. And I feel something about what Gandhiji seemed to see, that there was a wisdom in him and in my teachers that I'm wrong. And it's hard for me to feel it in my heart. In my heart, I feel like there comes a time when you have to fight back and kill, that it gets too far. But I also see that there's this like glorious, shining, perfect elegance about this view that somehow, thank God, somehow is still in this world, that there's never a time, never, that only logic can reveal to you, that killing can only bring killing, that pain can only bring pain, and that you cannot fight death with killing. And I think at the same time, my heart fights against it. At the same time, my heart says at a certain point, you have to fight. I think from all my study, I think from the kindness of my teachers, and I think from logic that I can peer behind my heart just a little bit. And I think it might be that this higher truth stands above my own petty need to fight back, that maybe Ben is never allowed to use wrath. And if I could stand above it, that there never, ever comes a time when I should hurt, when I should cause pain, when we should kill.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Beautiful. You are an amazing speaker. Kind of. You were a president in your past life or something. No, thank you so much for sharing. Now I would like to take this discussion a little bit to the yoga side, to the yoga theory side. What's happening inside of us when we get upset, when we get angry, and then therefore sometimes we may perform violence. And I would like to take it to this idea of energies running in our channels and influencing our thoughts, influencing our actions as well. And maybe if you guys have any ideas on how we could actually get familiar with these energies, kind of recognize them when they arise. How do they feel? Sometimes we even feel like a certain heat, like it's even physical or something. And the actual question I would like to discuss is there a way that we could use this energy in a certain wise way? What can we do when the feeling is arising, when the energy is already inside, boiling in our bodies? What could we do with it? And I would like to ask Ina your opinion on this, and anybody at any point, if you want to add anything, please feel free, just raise your hand, you can talk, and let's explore this idea, because sometimes I see kind of the opposite. Like sometimes for me, to be honest, there are situations that I know I should do something, but then I feel scared or I feel shy, and then I don't do the right thing because I was too shy. And maybe this energy also how to say, canalized, channel, I don't know. Yes, I could do something, and then maybe in an elegant, correct way, I could use it to improve someone's situation or something. What's your take on it, Ina?
Hi everyone. I almost afraid of starting to talk because I think about anger. I can now talk for 4 weeks. I think that my takeaway of this last month is that it's a good thing to lose this how to say, like I was I think at some points of my time I was under the spell that the anger is something, how to say, if not good, but at least a lot of energy, you know, like it's like strong people, they can really respond with the anger or something. And when you truly understand that as much as you can, that it really everything comes from your seeds, then you are in this trap. Like it really looks like evil people are doing evil things. It really strongly looks like you need physically to stop it, right? Because it is too much. It is already too much. And I think this is the hardest thing to do, not even our own anger, like in day-to-day situations, but then I can see somebody is writing in the chat that it is already that we should stop the war before it happened. But what about the war that is ongoing? We should stop it also. So, like, what really to do? I was surprised that Geshe-la has chosen this topic because I was expecting the mother with the knife, you know, like, okay, that's easier. He chooses something else. Like, not only you should not be, you should be in anger, but also you should do something that can look angry, but it will not be that way, right? And what is the measure of it? I think it is very important for a lot of us now to think about our honesty to ourselves, because we can lie to ourselves a lot, because it is more comfortable, because it is scary to see the truth, not only about others, mostly about ourselves. And I think to be really honest about my motivation is something I'm working right now. And I also detect that the anger is very selfish. I have some kind of ideas that I have the right to be angry or something like that. So, and this is very difficult to remove, I think. And yeah, and whether I will have enough seeds right now to get the result of my corrective and actions, that's also a very important thing to remember. I may not have. And it does not mean I'm doing something wrong. So.
Thank you, Ina. Thank you, Ina. That makes me think on also the importance of being patient with ourselves. Because when something bad happens in my life, the very first thing I think is, what am I doing wrong? And it's interesting, maybe you are not. Maybe it's just you're getting what you used to do wrong. But then we may feel frustration, I think, a lot, because what else can I do right now, right? When we want to fix a situation like instantly. And I would like also to ask now, Stanley, what's your take on this? And I would like to add a little bit back to going back to the 4 modes, because I have seen really many times in my life in conflicts that actually peaceful, it's so powerful mode. Sometimes actually it's like we want to be strong and we want to fight back and we are not going to let anybody step over us. But actually that attitude is the thing that causes a bigger problem. And many times when I have experienced this, when I go into a really, really peaceful mode, the conflict kind of vanish, fades away. The person doesn't has like, it's like taking away the wood from the fire, and then the fire, boop. So what's your take on all this, Stanley? What can you say? What's your opinion?
Thank you, Juan. Well, first of all, I would like to thank all of you here. All the words I just received gave me a very peaceful mind in the early morning in Vancouver, when I feel tired and, jet lag, and, because we just finished a heavy tour. And I find out that that's the best time to get angry, when you are tired or hungry or all these overstressed things. But all the words that I have been listening to all of you has been bring me this beautiful sensation of peace. And that's the first thing I want to say. I would like to, for myself and my friends, to be able to get back to this wisdom in any form we could, because we need it. We need the people who understand with this ancient wisdom. We need the people who are actually practicing this system. And it's been to fight with violence. It's a long-term marathon, and I feel like it's number one, it's foolish to think you can beat it one day, and number two, it's foolish to think you don't have it. Like that's what I used to think. I must be a peaceful person. That's what I used to think about myself. Then I started to do actual work in this world. I started to work with people. Then I realized that, this violence is in me. It's very deceiving also. So it's foolish to think that, it's others the people who are in war is doing violence. I'm not doing that. I'm studying ancient wisdom. I don't have it. And number three, I find every time when I put my body and my back to these teachings, I gain more power to fight the violence in myself. And one thing I would like to share, Juan, you talk about the energy thing. You talk about, different emotions, maybe both mentally and physically. I do feel that. I feel that I like one energy I myself constantly have is to fight with something. Whether it's in a debate that I want to fight with the wrong idea or the debater, or in a discussion with my colleagues so I want to fight with their opinions, so that to prove that my opinion is better, my solution is better. So I realized that I don't know if it's true with everybody, but I always have the energy to fight with something. But later I find out that it's okay to fight. Just pick the right opponent, and it's okay to fight. For example, I like to fight in my meditation. I like to fight the distracted or dull or agitated mind. And I find out that fighting with them bring me more peace. And actually that's the definition of wisdom in some of the Abhidhamma teaching, when we realize directly the 16 aspects of the 4 Arya truth on the third path, the path of seeing. We fight with the nasty things one by one, and then we gain peace and wisdom. So I like the energy of fighting. I start to appreciate it. So right now I don't try to hold it. Every time when I find it in my mind, which is every day, I don't try to hold it back. because it's always there. Right now, my focus is to try to or struggle to pick the right opponent to fight. For example, when I feel like a fighter, meaning when I get angry with my colleagues, my partner, my the world, then I try to identify who's the real enemy. That's in the Chinese traditional culture, like the art of war. You have to find a real enemy before you pick up a fight. And to me, it's always correct and helpful to fight with anger, with my peace. It's always correct to fight with selfish, with maybe generosity. And I find out that every time I fight with the wrong guy, I gain more peace and wisdom. And every time I'll fight with the right guy. And every time I fight with the wrong one, meaning like outside person, outside situation, nobody win. If you pick the wrong enemy to fight, then I find out there's no victor in any fight. If you got the wrong enemy, even though it seems like you beat them with your logic or louder voice or higher positions at your work, no, there's no victory if we pick the wrong opponent. And I feel like the energy of fighting with something is very helpful as long as we choose the wrong object or wrong enemy to fight with. And that's the thing I feel like about anger. It's okay to fight. Just make sure we got the right enemy. Just make sure we have the cool motivation. Then be like a fighter. And I enjoy in China, in the culture of our country, we have so many like kung fu movies, like Bruce Lee movies, Hong Kong action movies. Nowadays, the Jianlang movie in mainland China. And I enjoy watching them. I told my friend Seiji that it's so relaxing to watch this violent movie. As long as I got the right opponent. Like I would try to imagine, the bad guy in the movie is not the other country, it's not, the other army. It's my nasty emotions in my mind, including for particularly violent. Yeah. That's my pick. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you, Stanley. Thank you. And it just, to be honest, it made me think like many of my mental afflictions or negative emotions, problems in my life, things that made me feel unsatisfied are caused. One reason it will be my laziness. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm not working just enough. If I put a little more effort, if I get myself organized in a better way, things like that, I could accomplish much more. So it's very interesting how I could actually use this energy, you say, of fighting, just aim to the right guy, in this case, let's say my laziness or my lack of discipline, for example. And then by that, bring a lot of better results, peace, calmness for me and many other people. So I find this tool very beautiful, very interesting to check it out, to recognize first our real, what it's actually causing the problems that we suffer in our lives, and then try to aim that energy towards them. In this sense, I would like to ask Geshe-la again. We are going for round 2. What's your take on how can we use, or what will be the right technique? I think in the reading, there is like a few elements, very important. It seems to me that the reading is kind of indicating like, okay, if you are gonna do something, that it is not violence, because again, I will say, for me, violence has an ingredient of anger. It has an ingredient of misunderstanding or ignorance. But if you're gonna do something with this energy, if you're gonna do something out of love or with a higher motivation, there are a few things that have to be there. And for example, that's when it comes the teaching on, imagine is your mom with a knife, remember the 2 husbands in the kitchen, As Ben Kramer say, do it with a great motivation of helping. Remember, everybody, I think it's in the reading as well, everybody has been your mom after you go through this logical analysis. What would you say, Geshe-la, is like important things we have to consider if we are going to attempt to tame this energy and to actually use it not without anger, but out of love and for a greater purpose? Yeah.
Thank you, Hassan. So I've been thinking a lot about it during this call, especially, and I'll tell you a grandpa story. So, abuelo historia. Recently I had to have a skin treatment, and they burn your face with a powerful light. And then, it hurts a lot. And then you peel off all of the old skin, and then you don't get cancer from the sun. And then I thought, well, why didn't they teach me this in the school when I was a kid? To be careful to go out in the sun. And if they taught me when I was a kid, and if it was a habit from when I was a kid, then I wouldn't need to do all this suffering. It's something they didn't teach us in the school. And there are many things like that, like how to keep your credit card debt. They didn't teach me in the school. And then I start to think that the real place to stop violence is a long, long time before the other violence comes. I think if we have good training for people, it's impossible after the violence comes. I agree with Ben. It's almost impossible when the violence comes to you, it's almost too late to respond properly. So I nowadays, as an old man, I feel that education or preparing your mind years before the violence comes, and teaching children these principles that violence can only lead to violence. I think education, long before the violence comes, maybe it's the only way we can really control our violent habits. And if you don't mind, I have one share screen I'd like to do, okay? If you guys are okay. Let me see. Can you see it?
Wow.
So this last week, me and the DCI team, which is Seiji Arao, our vice president, and Stanley and Allison, we visited Peru for a large conference with all of Latin America, many leaders from Latin America, and it was very, very exciting. And we had a great reaction from these leaders. And we had an opportunity to go to the Andes Mountains. And this is a special place called Machu Picchu, right? And it's very difficult to get there. And we went there. It was very hard to climb up. And we took a train. There's no road. You have to take a train for about an hour. And on the train, we were we signed the documents to start a new MBA program. So we have the Sedona College is our training college for all of DCI teachers, but we don't have a legal MBA program. So we requested permission from the American government to start preparing an MBA program. And we signed the paperwork on the train and sent it by email. And then we went to Machu Picchu here. This was built 1,000 years ago by the Incas. And we had a shock when we reached the top. The tour guide, who's Inca person, she said, half of this buildings behind you is an ancient university. This is not just for kings. This was also on the right side here of the buildings is an ancient university for training people in the cultural wisdom of their people. And then we were so excited, and she gave us this picture that we are holding here. And it's a picture of the ancient university. And we were so excited that they were talking about that. And then on the way home, we got an email that said, "You've been approved. You got approved in the last hour. You got approved to start the MBA applications and things like that. You got approval." So it happened during Machu Picchu while we were on the mountain. The approval was given by some government people in America. So I'm just saying because it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful experience to get the blessing of this ancient place. And I feel like that's how we can stop violence. Like we have to teach kids that it's not acceptable, that it's not something, it's not an acceptable reaction to hurt another person who hurts you. And I think we have to train, I think education and really all of the wisdom we gave at that conference, all of the 4 days of 3 days of wisdom and talk that we did there, it all comes from mixed nuts. It all comes from mixed nuts wisdom, you know. So Geshe-la gets up in front of leaders from almost all the countries in Latin America, and I'm using directly mixed nuts. Actually, I was working on Adam's book, Logic book, and I used that book for this conference. So I think education and translating the ancient wisdom and creating places where people can study it before the war starts, before the violence comes. That's my big thing nowadays. Back to you, Hasso. Back to you, Juan.
Wow, thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you. Actually, I think there is a quote, something like that, like a very high Lama was saying something like, if you teach every 7-year-old kid to meditate, then you will end half of, or like the problems of humanity in 1 generation or something. And I think that can be very beautiful. I also think education is, it's actually the answer. What else is gonna help us, right? If we don't learn this, how to be better people. Well then, what time are we finishing, Ben?
I think now-ish.
Okay. Maybe you want to invite people to the program again. We are, since Geshe-la is saying like how valuable all this knowledge is and how useful, especially. It will be great if people can come.
It's an extraordinary program. It's an extraordinary opportunity for me personally to be involved again and again. I don't know what I did to be so good, but I dreamed about it. You know, we had this class back in the day in the desert we called Sacred Translator Classics. And I remember when I first arrived in the desert and we had this class, and it was the most special thing. And I just dreamed about this class, and I just, and now this thing, it's blossomed into this thing that like dominates my life. And I'm so happy. It is a window into a world where beings that see something that I can't see try to show me the tools to see this place where love operates on a higher level, and it takes deep intelligence. It takes a big heart and a big mind at the same time. And there's these arguments in this world about should you have a big heart or should you have a big mind? And when those two are wed, then amazing things happen, then beautiful things happen, then our hearts can get this glimpse into a higher world of how to serve people. And this is what we're trying to do together, to stretch our minds and stretch our hearts at the same time. And it's hard. It's hard. And being loving amidst violence is hard. And being intelligent at whatever time in the morning we wake up to do translator class is also hard. But being intelligent beyond my own means, you see, being able to learn these concepts and work with the language at the same time, I think this is what it takes. I think it takes this stretching of our minds and our hearts at the same time. So do come, and great. You can use this QR code. I also put another link in the chat. Please, 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 if you need help to come, just contact us, okay? diamondcutterclassics@gmail.com, okay? Diamond Cutter, I'll put that in the chat too, okay? Diamond Cutter Classics, okay? Here we go, I didn't go to typing school, okay, @Gmail. If you need help, just let us know, okay? If you go follow the link, you can register right now. If you're short on funds or something, let us know. We have scholarships available. We want to find a way to get everyone there. It doesn't do us any good to make it difficult for you to come. We want everyone to come. And so let us know if we can help. And everyone come. I'm really excited. We're all gearing up and we get to spend time together again. And thank you, Juan, so much for hosting tonight, or this morning or this afternoon. It's always night somewhere. And Geshe Michael, thank you so much for keeping us all together and keeping everyone in my life and keeping yourself in my life and keeping all these beautiful people in my life and keep pushing us and keep pushing me. I think something is working. I think something is changing, and I know it's just the little baby steps, but it feels like something very special is happening for all of us and in all of us together. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
that beautiful
Geshe-la.
eloquence, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.